Academia rewards complexity, dense papers, dense slides, dense language. But here's the problem with that. The very thing that earns your credibility on paper is the thing that loses your audience when you present. Because your audience doesn't reward complexity, they reward clarity. And that's why some of the brightest researchers in the world give the most confusing talks. Today, I'm going to show you exactly why that happens and how to fix it. I teach PhDs, postdocs, and other early career researchers how to present more clearly, and I see the same failure modes again and again. In this video, we'll unpack the two biggest reasons researchers lose people and how you need to change to present more effectively. First, you know too much. Your brilliance gets in the way of your clarity. Second, academia taught you the wrong habits for speaking. If you fix those two things, you'll be giving the talk everyone remembers. And when you do that, doors will open that you never thought possible. The real reason researchers lose their audience is not because your work is complicated. It's because you know too much to present it clearly. I was coaching a PhD researcher last year, one of the smartest and one of the most passionate early career researchers I've ever worked with. He had a favorite phrase, "and also." When we were working together on his talk, after every explanation, he would add, "and also," he literally couldn't help himself. At the end of every explanation, he always knew it was more complex than what he had just said. And he wanted to share it with us, that additional complexity. He wanted us to know everything. So off he went, "and also." Since he couldn't help himself, I decided to help him. I forbid him from saying those two words, and every time he did, I'd interrupt with a "no, no, 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 no." It became this thing. So much so, I literally would interrupt his practice presentations with a "no, no, no, no," and he'd stop and laugh. Eventually, it worked. But that's more story for another day. One thing that's important to remember, it's not your fault this happens. You spend years immersed in your topic. You know the literature, the debates, the failures, the pivots, the dead ends, the new insights, the tacit assumptions, and the technical language that lets you think efficiently. But all that expertise becomes invisible because it's the water you swim in every day. And your audience hasn't lived any of that. They're encountering your entire cognitive universe for the first time. Not through a paper they can reread, but in real time at your speaking speed with no rewind button. And here's the cognitive trap. When you know something deeply, you automatically compress it. Your brain collapses dozens of steps into one. You skip foundational pieces you don't even realize you're skipping. You assume background because to you it feels obvious. You use terminology that feels harmless, but is actually unfamiliar. This is the curse of knowledge. You literally cannot remember what it felt like to not understand your own field. And this curse creates a predictable chain reaction. You move too quickly, you overload early context, you bury meaning under detail, and you accidentally speak from a mental map your audience doesn't yet share. None of this happens because you're careless. It happens because expertise makes simplicity harder, not easier. The more you know, the more essential everything feels, and the more noise the audience hears. This is why brilliant researchers give confusing talks. Expertise increases, but clarity does not automatically increase with it. If anything, clarity gets harder. Until you learn how to consciously decompress your thinking, to rebuild the stepping stones your audience needs, you'll always lose people, no matter how strong your science is. So remember, your expertise isn't the problem, your compression is. You need to reverse engineer the novice path, remove hidden assumptions, rebuild the stepping stones, make the first 5 minutes obvious. Clarity is not the absence of expertise, it's the translation of expertise. You don't need to dumb anything down. You need to rebuild the intellectual path your audience has never walked. When you deliberately slow the first few steps, define the mental categories they'll need, make one idea land before introducing the next, your expertise becomes accessible instead of overwhelming. Presenting well isn't about being charismatic. It's about consciously decompressing your thinking so your audience can follow it. The other major reason researchers struggle with presenting is academia trains you in ways that directly conflict with how spoken communication works. For years, maybe even a decade, you've been rewarded for density, for adding detail, expanding background, proving rigor, demonstrating thoroughness. And those are absolutely the right instincts for writing, but they are the opposite of the instincts required for speaking. On the page, your job is to be complete. In a talk, your job is to be clear. But because academic culture treats writing as the gold standard of intelligence, most researchers subconsciously assume a good talk should sound like a good paper. That's why so many presentations begin with context and definitions, and then over-detailed methods, before finally getting to the interesting parts of results and discussion. That structure makes perfect sense in writing. The reviewer can skim, jump ahead, and then move back or reread. But a live audience can't do that. They're held captive to your order, your pacing, your emphasis. If you front-load detail, they drift because you haven't started with the two things they need: a clear reason to care, and know your hypothesis or knowledge gap isn't enough. An accessible mental model to use as scaffolding for complexity and technical language that comes next. And when you don't do that, what happens next is predictable. The talk feels heavy, slow, abstract, cognitively demanding. The speaker seems nervous or disorganized because you actually might be. The audience can't find their footing and struggles to understand. And the truth is, all that happens because the structure that works so well for writing fails for speaking. Academic writing rewards depth before meaning. Effective presenting demands meaning before depth. Until you make that shift, until you stop presenting like you write, you'll confuse audiences, not because the work's complicated, but because the medium you're using has different rules. Unfortunately, nobody ever teaches those rules. You're expected to figure them out on your own, often after years of reinforcing the wrong habits. But once you see this clearly, it becomes obvious. Your talk doesn't need more detail, it needs a new structure. One designed for comprehension, not peer review. I was working with a researcher last spring. She got about 5 minutes into her talk and her voice shifted. She got excited to share something. I told her to stop. She looked puzzled, said, "But this is where it gets interesting." "Exactly," I said. "So open your slide deck, drag this slide and the next one all the way to the beginning. Start with them. Now rebuild the rest of the talk by backfilling the detail needed to understand that interesting part." She was hesitant. Then I asked her to give it a try, and she did. Immediately, she smiled. She felt what was happening. Suddenly, she was unpacking a story that she was excited to share. I call that exercise deck shuffling, and I do it with all my clients. It's one of the ways you can create an order that mimics the way people would naturally read, rather than a traditional journal article flow, which is more like a filing cabinet than a story. The lesson is this: your academic habits aren't wrong. They're just misaligned with the medium. Writing demands completeness. Speaking demands clarity. When you reorganize your talk around meaning first and let the depth come only after the audience has a map, everything becomes easier. You calm down, they lean in, your research sounds as strong as it actually is. You shift from prove everything to guide the listener, and your presentations instantly feel more confident, more structured, and far more compelling. So remember, two of the key things holding you back from presenting effectively are that 1, you know too much, and 2, academic writing is the wrong structure for presenting. But the takeaway is not to become less smart and forget how to write. That's just silly, right? Instead, learn to scaffold the complexity you know in ways that make it accessible, and learn the models that work for speaking. Do that, and you'll be good at both. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a like, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. 2026, I'll be posting weekly videos specifically for researchers to help you present better. I'll cover everything from content to visuals to delivery to getting better feedback and practicing better. And if you want deeper dives to fast track your growth for an upcoming important presentation, follow the link and sign up for the program I teach. The program guides you through 9 essential skills and 3 mindset shifts. Learn those and you'll become the speaker other people wish they were. Hope to see you again soon.